What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Let's just crack on. It's fine. Hope you're all doing well. It's slightly awkward. Slightly awkward. So yeah, I've got too much stuff to mute, so give it 2 minutes. Welcome in, everybody. Hope you're doing well. We're going to get into everything you want to talk about this evening. I want to take a look at that trade that we talked about yesterday. We'll get into US employment data that came in today because that looks like it's about screwed. So that could be an interesting statistic. And the big question in everyone's mind, are we going to go lower or did we all miss the boat? All right. Damien, what's going on, buddy? Welcome in. So we'll get into that tonight. We'll take a look at that trade that we were talking about yesterday. I didn't put it on, in fairness. Probably a good idea because we would have got liquidated at the start. However, it is important to understand the not trading market opens because they're pretty wild, in fairness. So yeah. So with that, I am just going to quickly bring up the charts because that way, dead quickly, I can... I'm not disappearing, by the way, but I need to turn that camera off. And then I also need to turn you guys so you can see that way. And then we'll get into everything and anything here on these charts, all right? So just because it's worth touching on. It's worth touching on there. So shout out to who was that? That just sent me a little thing. So thank you so much, everybody. Damien, you massive legend. Massive legend, so I appreciate that. Obviously, I am going to come back in a minute, by the way. They just we're just sorting everything out in this room, and then we're good to go. So we're going to get into this, and actually, we'll talk a little bit about some of the important bits that we discussed yesterday. So some of these key areas we're talking about, we'll talk about that Bitcoin position that we were going to take yesterday. Like I said, in the end, probably not a bad shout. Why? Because opens on futures were insane yesterday. If you're in the Discord, we were talking about it. The fact that they just liquidated loads and loads of people. So, yeah, if you're hiding the misses in the corner again, yes, that's true, Craig. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, we didn't have the monitor for the kids, so no one knew what was going on. So anyway, so it's fine. Anyway, what's going on, Bod XRP? Good to see you. Avon's in the building as well. Tomato Pete, good to see you. Sammy Silver, good evening. Welcome to you. It has been a minute. As always, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as you walk through the door. A little bit disjointed at the start of the stream. But anyway, we've got a lot to get into and a lot to discuss tonight. Weirdly, BTC actually holding up on the day. So we'll get into the nitty gritty of the charts right now. But look at this range right now for BTC. We'll talk about this because I think it's important. You're in the car again. Shout out to you, Craig. I did see you send me a message on X. I stand a chance, mate. I will definitely take a look at it. JFR, what's going on? Good to see you, man. Welcome in. Foz is here. Robert Dover's here as well. Welcome. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. XXI says, let's go, Tim. Why is everyone so bullish on Tim Shea? Anyway, whatever. So, nothing's really changed, all right? I know that sounds kind of insane. I know you'd want to come in and be like, oh, we're all going to zero. It's going to be a disaster. We said, didn't we? Not a lot was down to happen this week until Friday. Friday is when it starts to get a little bit more tasty over the course of this week. But as it stands right now, nothing to report. And what you get here, we're on the 12-hour chart here for BTC, is just this consolidation sideways, which, again, if you remember, we said this is exactly what we were going to expect to happen. Now, this does two things, by the way. This yellow line here, the 20-day EMA, obviously starts to come and make its way down. You then start to get a slightly different fair value price when it comes to BTC. So then you get less potential upside move. You're probably then going to be in this kind of range here of retesting some of these ranges, maybe a breakout here to the 50. But right now, this range, and I don't see us doing anything different, by the way, not at least till maybe Friday, all right? And I think we get it. I mean, we might get a little bit Wednesday with non-farm payrolls, maybe. I don't think it's going to be that big. Friday is going to be the big one, really, where we get core inflation data, CPI. That's going to see whether, you know, there's an argument to say, well, the Trump economy is still doing very, very well. And people are going to have a little bit more money, all right? So macro right now, you trade within a range. You really could as well. If you wanted to do, you know, if you just, and again, I do need to do this. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow night. This kind of grid trading. Let's see how the market holds up tomorrow. But maybe we do it tomorrow night. So again, you just argue and say, well, hold on a minute. Given the fact that we just have this, I'm trying to find one particular thing. I can't find where it is. Where is it? Here. So again, given this kind of range right now, you say, well, I'm just going to trade between this particular range. I mean, we have it here on these. This white line on the top, by the way, is fair value against the VPVR. But this range here, it's doing nothing, right? It's doing absolutely nothing. Bitcoin consolidating. Probably, you know, shaking out some of the problems from this low range here where we saw this massive dip. I still think, by the way, we come down and retest it. I actually maybe think we go a little bit lower. We'll talk about why I think that as well. But it doesn't necessarily mean we stay long down here. And if you look at when you go to the 4 hour, we didn't stay long with the exception of maybe a couple. But as we normally do, walking through these higher time frames, the weekly is sitting pretty normally, 5 day doing exactly the same. Nothing's different until you get into the smaller time frames. Look at that on the 4 hour chart. I mean, people like, oh, this POC is annoying. Let me just change this real quickly. Let's take this POC line off. Let's take that off. We don't need that on right now. But look at this in the 4 hour. So again, let me take this trade off. Look, like this kind of movement that we've got right now is pretty crazy. And we've seen this before, you know, the dip down into this low range that we've been talking about below 63,000, back up, retest the 20 day, lose it. But now look at this consolidation just within this range. And, you know, we could do this for a little bit further. Yeah, you know, we could definitely see that, which you'd argue maybe it's market makers, etc. But, you know, then we'll see a retest, which could come Friday. You know, that's kind of where I get to the potential of a break later on in the week, given if we get some slightly more positive bullish news that comes in. But it's like, you know, you couldn't write it. It's kind of that crazy when you see just how that structure sits between these price ranges. Also, just any of you guys that were here last night, and we were talking about this trade, by the way, on Bitunix, you know, my thoughts on this platform. So we said last night, didn't we? If we were looking for it now, this is always the challenge of opening on market opens, by the way. So this wick is complete nonsense, all right? This is basically just people getting wrecked on the open. But if you were just trading this normally, forget this wick here. Look how well we nailed that trade. Now, I know you'll say, well, hold on a minute, but you just got liquidated on that top range. Maybe, but look at this. We would have opened the trade here on the long, again, shorted all the way down to this lower range here. Look at this, bang on 70,000. I think we wicked below it today, followed by then a bounce back to the upside. So this would have been a really nice trade, depending if you went balls to the wall without any stop loss. Again, always the challenge when you open up on market opens, given the, given the volatility you can get within that. But that would have been an absolutely perfect setup and trade. I mean, even lower right now, followed by the bounce back to the upside again. So, you know, you look at these two lines that we have, these now become really interesting support and resistance line for us. This less so, to be honest, but that becomes the top as well. So you can kind of keep these lines consistent over the top of it. You can see how well they're supporting these. Just FYI, just chucking it out there. But again, if you want to trade on Bitunix, check that link out in the description. Sign up, definitely worth it. Great exchange, lots of benefits, etc., etc. So we can also really quickly, let's just change this and put this to 96, actually. Let's put it just a little bit higher in terms of some of the VPVR indicators, telling us kind of what's going on here, giving us a little bit more insight. So again, you can see the highest volume range sets here. So what can we then expect maybe on a breakout, and what can we expect in terms of where we sit? Well, for that, we have to understand where our next levels and obviously the Fibonacci retracement that we've discussed a number of times pre these kind of moves that we're looking at. So, you know, if you're taking the bottom, you're obviously working your way up to the top. Where does that sit us? You sort of get to this move here. So forget, you know, this is kind of back here in early January where we came off the top of that kind of news. This is sort of what we're interested in right now. This is kind of playing out back to the upside. Remember, if you're moving up, Fibonacci's go from bottom to the top. If you're coming down, Fibonacci's go top to bottom. Yeah, does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So again, you can see here just some of how these lines are absolutely perfect to get in. The 618 Fibonacci at 71,843 tells us that's the line that we need to break above. If we don't break above that, that's where you start to potentially come back down again. So these are kind of some of the key price indexes. Now, when you see here on the 4 hour, also worth noting, by the way, we are actually above the 20-day EMA, which generally is a sign that, you know, market structure's holding up. People are less like freaking out about the price of BTC. So we're kind of holding up with this, within this range, but we still need to see this kind of move a little bit further. The one thing to note, by the way, total market cap 2.38 trillion. Total 2, by the way, 0.84. So not really doing anything specific. Remember, this is everything minus Bitcoin and stablecoin. We don't really track stablecoins within this. To be when you go into Aruba, did Lunk pump? Yeah, I think Lunk was pumping. Believe says it was anyway. I don't know if it was, by the way, but that's what Believe says. You can see just kind of where they sit across that. And the others, which is generally your broader altcoins, anything out of the top 10, you can see that it's all pretty stagnant. It's all pretty flat. And that's why, you know, at the minute, if we can get some push to the upside, maybe you get a slightly reduction in liquidity. This could be good news, but it doesn't look like it. Now, lots of people have been talking about the potential of getting the Federal Reserve to start to inject liquidity. The Bank of Japan, obviously, we talked about yesterday, but not too much in terms of the Federal Reserve right now doing anything specific. We are expecting them to do a buy, particularly on some of their recent treasury bills, but as it sits right now, pretty flat. Nothing really going on right now. So you can see there, we're just consolidating sideways. Expect, I think it's tomorrow. It's about about 7 billion, I think it is. So we'll get a pump up in the Federal Reserve number. Maybe that drives Bitcoin up. I don't think it does personally. And if it does, it might pump a little bit. So another 50-50 chat. Oh, dear. I could also say someone else hasn't been here since the start of the live stream, couldn't I? But yeah, welcome in. A bait for welcome in. You've clearly just joined. Anyway, good to see you. Oh, dear. Are bear markets 3 years? No, bear markets are generally 1 year. So you get 1 year of a bear market, then you get 3 years of accumulation. So it depends. If you define the bottom as being in here, then you could argue and say, okay, well, the next 3 years-ish, about 1,056 days, generally then is accumulation stroke price appreciation. That's kind of where you get to. The debate would always be, where do you believe that the bear market started? Do you believe the bear market starts at the top of the bull market or the top of the price range, which would have been obviously back in October? That way you'd argue and say, well, we're probably 3 months into the bear market. The problem you've got here, I think, just to give you my thoughts and views and opinions on this, because this was so aggressive down, yeah? And actually, we saw this due to a number of different reasons. I don't believe this to be the market bottom. And we can take that for, excuse me. If you think about it, we basically went from around $97,000, which historically plays out the similar sort of pattern as we saw in 2021, which is the big M pattern, followed by this accumulation range here, followed by then the push down to the market. 3 weeks it took us to go from that top all the way to the price below. If you take a look at previous cycles. Now, I appreciate that some people would come into the live stream and be like, oh, here's another 50-50 streamer and has no idea what they're talking about. I appreciate that. But if you look at the difference here, this is going back to 2021. You have exactly the same. So you have this M pattern here coming down. You have the accumulation zone here. But the difference being is that actually you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You kind of have to discredit FTX because it's obviously just a completely random event that happens on the back of the reason FTX collapsed was obviously because of these. But you get a 17-week downtrend, which is why I believe, and you know, you have to sort of step into what's going on, buddy. Step into one of two narratives. You either believe this is a short-term dump on the move to a new all-time high that happens within the next 12 months, or you believe that the bottom's not in. Therefore, if you assume the bottom's not in, that means we can go back down and potentially even go a little bit lower as well. So this is why people are calling for sort of 56,000. That would be a 77% retracement from all-time highs. Probably aligns more favorably than those calling for 30K. I think those that are calling for 30K are going to unfortunately miss out because I don't personally see it. It would break the traditional cycle. It would certainly do things we've never seen before in BTC. It would be the biggest retracement in Bitcoin's history, which doesn't make any sense when you correlate that to the long-term holder sell-off. It doesn't make any sense. We're not seeing that would define that, if that makes sense. I don't see anywhere this is the bottom. If we're indeed in the bear market since October high, we have a lot further to go down. Well, that's it. That's it. And I think that's probably where, I mean, you know, once you get down to those levels, another 20% on the bottom of a 50K price point is like not a lot, is it? That's the point here. So although you might feel like we get a lower push down, it probably isn't going to go that much lower in terms of price. But remember, we discussed this, didn't we, last time? And you can see the accumulation continues, by the way, if anyone was debating this. You know, maybe people just have walked into the stream and they don't know what the hell we're talking about. So, yeah, would it go long or short right now? I would short the market right now. But again, you've got to do what you right think. But we talked about this. We literally talked about this setup yesterday. So this was a short setup that we talked about entering the market here at this particular price range, 71,467. And then we ride that short down, again, closing our positions out here. So I believe, and by the way, you can get wicks to the upside. Remember, there's data coming in this week, but we'll talk about a few things in a minute, namely the fact that job data is telling us that we might get some pretty rough reports this week. Would I be aping into anything right now? No. I don't think it's a good idea, and I would take the trades as they present themselves. Is Bitcoin presenting itself right now as a potential short trade? I don't know. If it was, as we've discussed many times here on the channel, likewise, we discuss it in our premium Discord, which you get for $6.50 with all our trading bots and everything else. I'd be trading this from a 71,800 level and shorting it from there. Again, not telling you what to do. I'm only telling you what I see in the chart. Sometimes we get it right. Sometimes we get it wrong. However, our ratio has been pretty good recently. So, yeah. Griff, what's going on, buddy? Welcome in. Selmo's in the house. Jeez. Good to see you, bud. Welcome. Stanton's here as well. Shannon says XRP Community Week. I actually did a video about that earlier on. I'm not going to go through it in tonight's live stream, but there is expectation of 2026. What's the word I'm looking for? 2026 like roadmap, or what they want to do, and how we're going to see further institutional adoption when it comes to XRP. So watch out for some pretty big announcements coming out of XRP Community Day. What is it? 11th and 12th, isn't it? So yeah, keep your eyes peeled on that. All right, so that talks a little bit about where BTC is, certainly on a lower time frame that we've been discussing, and how that can then play out. Long-term holders, again, you can see are accumulating, right? Are accumulating where they are. So, we'll see kind of where that goes and how that's playing out versus, as we've said a number of times here on the channel, the short-term sellers, which continue to capitulate their positions out. Now, interestingly, as the market's pushed back up a little bit, we do have a few people coming in here, but again, not in the, the kind of numbers that you want to see where you get significant price appreciation. They're just kind of, I think if anything, marginal FOMO buys back into the upper range. We'll see. One second. This is going to get slightly annoying. Sorry if you haven't probably already realized my missus is working next to me. Anyway. I watched it. Keep up your videos. It's so informative. Thank you so much. So this is kind of where we sit right now. The also thing to note here, by the way, specifically on BTC, is the wicks either side, which tells you you've got real indecision within this market. So you've just got, short-term moves to the upside and short-term moves to the downside. If you look broadly across the altcoin market, that can tell you there's not a lot of new capital flowing in. Everything is rotational at the minute. So again, that's why I would say I just, I'm not super crazy about going into anything. I don't have any particular trades open at the minute, and I haven't bought anything for ages. So that's kind of where I sit. Now, there is obviously some things happening now over the course of the next couple of weeks, and certainly the next couple of days, which could be a little bit more interesting as we sort of walk through this. Hey, Legend, you're pumping out some great content. Thanks for everything you do. Good day, Mrs. Two-Bit. She's not here. And I said, I don't know what I said to her. Just go on the camera. It's fine, but she doesn't want to. Doesn't want to. You'll be like, oh my God, he's punching above his weight. Go understand, I'm 2-bit crypto from YouTube. Anyway, God. PZBCN, the parrot meme coin. All right, brilliant. We'll take a look at it. Curtis says, boring. Get some trades in. Like I said, we were definitely we were talking about it in the Discord last night, Curtis, weren't we? I mean, that trade played out pretty interesting that we got here. Obviously, excluding the wick up. If you weren't super tight on your stop loss, that would have literally been perfect, that trade. So anyway, some of the top altcoins, just to give you a bit of an update on some of these real quick. Ethereum not doing too much. Solana's doing not a lot. Again, telling me that there is no new money coming into this market. Everything's just a little bit quiet right now. Even XRP, albeit had a nice little wick up today, has come back down. And again, I was talking about this on my video. Again, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But yeah, this kind of potential breakout for XRP. Interestingly, the futures markets that opened yesterday properly wrecked XRP down to 138, straight back though within this range. And you'd argue now, potentially this kind of breakout here for XRP, albeit, again, no volume. It's super low in terms of where it's coming in. So I'm not convinced a lot of these are going to make a big move, but hey, it is what it is. All right. Will there be financials starting to come back a little bit, which is kind of nice. Outside of that, everything else is super boring. Not a lot going on. Just to give you a quick update on commodities markets, silver and gold still rallying. This is another indication that people are risk off and they're going into the metals market. Historically, Bitcoin does rally on the back of metals. So again, worth noting here, but like we said, at the minute, it's all pretty quiet out there. So not anything that I'm going to be jumping into too soon. US treasuries and stocks actually had a pretty good day. All right, good. So that takes you through the chart, gives you a quick update of what's going on. We'll discuss them a little bit more. We'll come back and take a look at anything you guys want to take a look at a little bit later towards the back end of the stream. Right. There hasn't been an altcoin season yet, so the cycle is not over. A bear market is when the cycle is over. Interesting, yeah. Interesting. Let's see. I'm sure. I hope it plays out. Fat Sonic. I mean, it depends where you're short from, doesn't it? My personal opinion. I mean, certainly within this range, I mean, you couldn't argue for anything that's literally trading as well as it is between here. This is why we say, grid bots potentially, again, you trade at your own risk and it's not on me, but, these are where grid bots really can have a massive benefit They buy high, they sell. Sorry, they buy low, they sell high. They just completely rinse and repeat as it goes through. So good. All right. Well, that's the charts. We'll come back and discuss them a little bit later on. So what have we got going on this week that could give us some momentum in the market? Again, you have to come at this from two possible angles. The first angle is that you believe that the market is bottomed and that actually now we're going to accumulate price over the next 3 years into what would then essentially be the top end of a 2029 bull market cycle. Does that even work? 2017, 21, 25, 29. Yeah, in theory it does. In theory it does. So you would see accumulation, and then accumulation followed by it. So we're probably a little bit early in assuming that you stick to a 4-year cycle, really, because we shouldn't be fully into a bear market until we'd run this one through next year, which I guess we can consolidate this lower range, 60,000, 65, 70, or even a bit higher, couldn't you? You'd go from 80K down to 56K or something like that, trade between those two ranges. But the White House tomorrow holding a closed door meeting to decide the future of US crypto and the market structure bill. So this is obviously pretty big news. Go on, you good? So the fact that we want both sides to reach a compromise could be pretty interesting as this walk through, by the way. And this is all to do with the market structure bill that we do need to get past and should, in theory, give us a bigger opportunity to come in. Right, TikTok, I'm going to move you guys back here so you're not just staring at the screen. But understand my face is very close to that screen. Oh, my God. Sorry about that, everybody. So, again, the House Clarity passed the Clarity Act back on July 17th, 2025. Since then, the bill has been stuck between the US senators and cannot agree on the questions. Remember, this is all to do with the banks and stablecoins. Now, I can't remember who we were talking to yesterday. I think it was actually in the stream. And we said, didn't we, that the expectation is probably limits on the number of stablecoins you can hold and earn yield on it. That satisfies the bank, while at the same time, probably then satisfies those people getting into those particular markets. I think that's probably the most logical sentiment. We know Trump wants to get it passed and probably needs to a degree. I don't think it makes the biggest move on the economy, but he probably needs to do something at the minute. Banks see yield-bearing stablecoins as a direct threat to deposits, hence why you probably end up with a slightly lower range. They made $355 million in stablecoin revenue in Q3. This is all to do with Coinbase and other major companies, by the way, just to give you a view. The Genius Act already banned stablecoin issuers from paying interest, but the real fight now is that they can exchange on the platform, still share reserve income through rewards and incentives. So this could be a big deal. I mean, we're not going to get any announcements tomorrow. It's not like all of a sudden they're going to pass it, but clearly there is a desire, a demand. I even look at it. There is certainly a let's call it a quicker view to get this done. And I think that could be good news if we get it through. So, and the reason why I think they need to kind of push it through is they need to stimulate the economy. Just give you a view, by the way. The expectation, this could be another signal, by the way, that price is going to go lower, is that you have recessionary signaling labor markets. Now, I didn't get this up actually. Let's see if I can bring this up right now. Christopher Waller. Why is that doing that? Hold on a minute. So Christopher Waller came out today, didn't he, and gave a bit of a view on, I think it might have been crypto or something like that. Where is it? Find it now. I don't get how the market cap of bottom if we haven't even seen a proper bull. I mean, we were talking about this in our TikTok live, though. It depends how you look at it, though. It does depend how you look at it. The problem you've got was we never got this parabolic move, right? We never got this kind of like insane Q4, ape into everything. It's all going to the moon. But I think it was Daniel, like, look at Ethereum, for example. Remember, if you take the bottom of the bear market, so that would have been 2018 after the 2017 bull market, yeah? So, for example, this was the bottom here back in, back in 2021. So here was the top of Ethereum's price, 4,856. Here is the bottom here. So, $900. Ethereum was the bottom. So you got essentially a 500% gain on Ethereum, right? Potentially. So you got 5x on ETH. Now, historically, what do we normally see? If you take it from there to there, you got a bit of a bigger move. You got a 21x on ETH. But that was going from, like we said, 2017 into 2021. So again, when you look at something like Solana, it all did kind of give us a decent move. I mean, think about it. Solana was $8, $8 back here at the bottom of the, bottom of the bear market, September 2023. I mean, it's even lower here, like $8. And Solana peaked, just to give you a view, over 2,000. That's a 2,000% gain on Solana. The annoying bit was, it was a bit like we expected way more. And look, you still bring it back, and I will always bring it back to October the 10th broke the market. October 10th was the reason we never went higher. And for whatever reason, Binance APIs or whatever it is, thoughts on MSTR? I mean, they bought more Bitcoin today, which is hilarious, and I said they would, albeit it was like 80 million, almost like repurposing some capital, just a proper token gesture, like let's just buy some Bitcoin because everyone's freaking out right now. But yeah, almost not even worth it. Clearly $80 million is a lot of money, but yeah, kind of not even worth it. But you think about, that was what broke the market here. Look, October 10th. It'll ever be ingrained in the reason that the 2025 bull market cycle did not go any higher, October 10th. But when you start looking at this, US job openings are declining. This is bad news, right? This is essentially what the Federal Reserve will be watching for rate cuts, and again, making sure they are. But they actually fell by over 386,000 jobs in December. So this isn't jobless claims. This is actual new jobs. Remember, they're not making jobs. We saw that, Amazon laying off. We've seen the ADP jobs report as well, which I think is important. But as you work it through, by the way, it is at a pre-pandemic high of 1.24, which is essentially the biggest stress level on the labor market that we've seen for ages. This is the data we get this week. Non-farm payrolls, monthly change expectations, it's going to be garbage, as well as non-farm jobs versus the JOLTS data, which once again is expected to be garbage over the course of the 6 months. So you're going to get this not great jobs data coming out, which, I mean, may push the Fed to make some decisions quicker than they maybe not. But at the same time, this is essentially what people are freaking out, which is why we could end up with a pretty rough week. So what does that all play out for? Well, look, all the data together, job openings are falling sharply. Vacancy ratio is below recessionary threshold. Layoffs are surging to post-GFC levels. Hiring plans are record lows, as in no one's taking anyone on. And the quit rate, i.e. people are leaving jobs, actually is pretty low. The labor market has moved from cooling to contraction. The only thing I think that's holding this up is the ISM data, which could come to the rescue here. Let's just be clear. It could come to the rescue. I'm not sure what Amazon did. They laid off corporate, but I'm sure they hired. I mean, so big companies are still hiring a little bit, but they just naturally will because of labor turnover. I was trying to short MSTR, but maybe that's why I didn't go my way today. What? I mean, I haven't checked actually. Where is MSTR today? I was up. Oh yeah, up 2.6. They bought Bitcoin. I'm not sure AI is going to be profitable as everyone assumes. Yeah, I don't think it is. The market makers took our altcoin season. Yeah, exactly. They basically, on October 10th, broke the crypto market. Or more specifically, the rumor mill is that Binance broke the October 10th. I mean, don't forget, the exchanges absolutely won. Remember, they stopped people trading the bottom. They essentially rolled back short traders. Like, they just took everything and said it was a glitch. Like, that's essentially how it plays out. Do you think it's odd that Binance all of a sudden has just got like $100 million and like, oh yeah, $1 billion. Oh, we'll just pay people back. It's fine. Like, don't worry about it. If it happens again, like, we're going to be ready for it. It's like, yeah, okay. Nice one, Binance. Anyway. So there are two things to think about. They could be a catalyst to drive this market down. So although while we see this consolidation right now between these two ranges, this could be a reason why this market gets pushed down. So again, just worth being cautious. Again, is it worth aping everything you've got into this market right now? No, like, it doesn't make any sense to do that. You just have to play it, in my view, sensibly, trade the opportunities, etc. Now, there are some signals, though, that some people are pretty bullish on this market, or, as we were talking about earlier on, the DCA opportunity is actually the play right now. So not necessarily sat waiting for the market to bottom again, but taking the opportunity to DCA in prices that either you got into high on or that you want to take the opportunity to get in. We always talk about this on the channel. You got $1,000, deposit in $250. All right, don't just go in for $1,000. With the job market in shambles, Trump needs to hand out stimmy checks or cancel the midterms. I mean, that's true. I mean, there was a thing I saw recently where the Democrats won back. By the way, I'm not political in this. This is not I'm bringing it up. I'm just bringing facts. There was is it Virginia or something, or somewhere in Virginia has historically been a Republican state, and I believe the Democrats won it. Not saying that's how the midterms will go. You can't really trust mainstream media, but yeah, the couple of things that Trump ran on, he's losing a little bit. The economy is one. He cannot have an economy that's bad. which in theory, you know, the Dow Jones breaking 50,000 is pretty bullish. You know, the S&P 500 still rallying. Stocks, again, continued today, by the way. So as much as we're kind of like, oh my God, the crypto market's a sack of shit, actually, the S&P is rallying once again and potentially could even see new all-time highs again. I mean, think about it, 7,010, it isn't a million miles away from that price range, under 1%, but to move the S&P 500 1% is actually a significant margin, but, you know, we'll see. Markets still front run the people who want to buy big, but yeah, that's true, Fat Sonic, absolutely, buying every week. See, Curtis knows. Curtis knows. I would agree. I think now maybe the time to start distributing some of your income in DCA, and I'll start going down if you have that sort of income. Well, that's it, isn't it? If you've been sat on stablecoin, you've been kind of holding up like we've been saying, then, you know, these are potentially where you start to deploy this. Now, my view was sort of wait and see what happens. I would definitely have some buy orders set in. Again, it's not financial advice in this channel, and I'm not telling you what to do, but, you know, you could argue that you would have certain buy orders set up, because if it goes down, this will go down quickly again. Maybe not as crazy as we saw, you know, back over that, you know, dump from like 70,000 all the way down, but you could definitely see this push down, and you just want them set in, don't you? You know, right, 65k, 63k, bottom of the wick here, 59,950, 55, and then the bulk of the range here. So you get a better, you know, you get a better entry, but some people are indeed buying the dip. So Sailor, as much as people are going to tell you he bought a lot of Bitcoin, he bought about 80 million, all right? Tom Lee bought some Ethereum, about 40,000. Robert Kiyosaki saying Bitcoin is a better investment than gold. All right, bro. Let's do it. Now, he's super Bitcoin maxi. He's like not altcoin maxi, like in any way, shape, or form. But Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki has once again voiced his advocacy for the Bitcoin network, making a bold statement comparing the digital currency to gold. In his latest tweet, the New York Times bestseller chose Bitcoin as a better investment over gold because of its design. Pretty interesting, all right? Very small DCA. I would just set aside like $50 a week, whatever you could afford. I mean, again, equally, you know, if you believe in certain projects that you got into, certain altcoins that you believe could have a, you know, decent run and have got real fundamentals. Again, I would say this. If you invested in Husky Inu, I don't know what that is, but let's say you did, then you're probably not going to get the best returns out of that. But if you bought Ethereum, Solana, Sui, I would argue Sui would be a good one. Certainly that's on my list. I mean, it's back under $1 right now. Think about that. Sui's under $1, everybody. It went to like $3.12, and the network is absolutely exploding in terms of utility. So, you know, Sui would be another one. I mean, we charted this out, didn't we? We charted this out, actually. It's potential areas to buy. Obviously, this was the dump down. So, you know, at 88 cents, that could be a decent, you know, decent entry point. Personally, I don't invest. It's all trading mostly. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's why I have a spot bag though, and then the trade is kind of like a bit of play money. I bought Sui in September 22 at 180 and it went to $5. There you go. That's the way. Will it go back to that point? I think so. Maybe even a bit more, you know, you argue that maybe we see an even bigger market this cycle. I mean, who the hell knows? Like, that's the honest answer, isn't it? But yeah, that's worth. There you go. Look, Strategy acquired 1,142 BTC for 90 million at 78,815. Where does that then put Sailor in terms of an average wallet now? Just out of interest. Just out of interest, let's take a look. What is Sailor's average buy? Because that'll be below his average price, right? Yeah, 76,056. So he's just above 78. Actually, not a bad buy for him, really. I mean, he's still negative 38% on the 3-month return, 58 on the 1 year. So still pretty challenging here on Sailor's strategy. But I guess, you know, not the worst buy he's made ever. Not the worst buy. Welcome in, everybody, on TikTok. By the way, if you've got any questions, thoughts, and opinions, let us know. Tilia says, what's new? Not a great deal, really. Man, honestly, I haven't been very well today. Not a great deal. Strategy bought, Bitmine bought, ETF inflows bought. I mean, interesting, right? Interesting. $371 million into Bitcoin ETFs. I wonder why. That's about it, though. Nothing else really going on, to be honest. What's going on, Rob? I didn't see you join there. Welcome in, buddy. Not touching it again until it goes under 1. That's probably not a bad shout. Buying XRP at 35 cents. I've been waiting for alt season. I feel robbed. Yeah, tell us about it. Tell us about it. However, what I would say is if you bought 35 cents, then that still feels all right, doesn't it? That does feel all right. And again, highly recommend checking out what's going on with XRP Community Week. We could get some insane XRP news this week, FYI. Loads of people, I've read loads of news articles, loads of stuff this week that are like, oh, expect Ripple to go skyrocketing. I don't know if I've got the article, but I talked about it again on my Man, that is not what I expected to bring up. Is it this one? No. Here it is. So I talked about this in my update video earlier on. XRP Community Day, which, man, it's still not going to highlight. But the couple of key things, by the way, is this. So one of the key objectives this year is the event is to showcase how XRP is increasingly used across regulated financial markets. This is going to be pretty interesting. And how it's from exchange-traded products to custody solutions. And they also said, here, look, most importantly, the event outlines where XRP is heading next. Ripple will share its 2026 priorities around regulated finance, wrapped assets, and cross-chain liquidity, underscoring XRP's role as a foundational lever of modern financial infrastructure. So you may get something pretty bullish out of XRP this week, maybe. Each 10k it dropped, picked it up. I believe 35 could be the next level. Wow. Some people do say 35k is on the cards. I personally don't see it. I think it's way too low, but I mean, it's technically achievable. It's technically achievable, but that would be the biggest drawdown in the history of Bitcoin. And as we've seen before, by the way, you would need billion-dollar outflows. I just don't see it. I don't see, like, ETFs freaking out. Bear in mind, some of these will have bought BTC at like 120k. I just, you know, you can imagine it, can't you? You've got less risk, which would be different to if you invest in the markets anyway. Remember, you've got people with big, big pockets institutionally investing through BlackRock. Now, when you start to get yield on some of this stuff, this is where it gets crazy and where I think you just don't get a dump in the market. And that'll be the end of bear markets or the end of a consistent bull bear cycle. You'll just get really big years and flat years, in my opinion, by the way, in my opinion. For example, when you look at the Dow, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, none of that, you don't go, oh my God, it's a bear market for stocks this week. No. It's just the stock market. Outside of recession, all that kind of stuff. BTC already broke history going lower than pre-election price. Yeah, it also broke it going higher post-halving as well. I mean, that's the other thing we'll start talking about. The next Bitcoin halving, I mean, that's coming in like, what, 600 or something days, I think it is? I mean, you remember talking about that last time? We were talking about Bitcoin halving and when it's due. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. What? Yeah, so not far off, actually. So 1 year and 311 days. So the best part of 676 days until the next Bitcoin halving. Oh, my God. Where's that coming out of? Wild, if you ask me. All right, good. So yeah, these ETFs, definitely interesting. And as always, and there has been a consistent theme. So we got a decent amount of buys last week, 371 million coming in on Friday. Accumulation yet again. BlackRock buying a chunk of BTC, and you can see that in their wallets as well that we've been tracking. So, you know, a core level, you've actually got some big accumulation going on of BTC right now. And my view is, yes, you're going to see some selling when you get things like this. But I could see them just buying as this comes down because, you know, they're not stupid. And I think Bitcoin's too big to fail. We know that it's here. I mean, interesting, you know, the market's now pushed down since we've been live. We're not pumping this market anymore. Dump it to oblivion. That's what we're all about. Welcome in, everybody. Shout out to everybody on TikTok. If you've got any questions, by the way, let us know. Don't forget to tap the screen, though. It makes you feel better. All right. Anything could happen, but I believe 80k before 60k. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's not out of the realms of possibility. Not at all. It arguably, you could even see this kind of consolidate for the next month or two. Like we said, 16 weeks in 2021 from the top to the bottom. We've done it in like 3 weeks right now, which is why I think, you know, in theory that we could see this consolidation before a leg down and then come down. I mean, look, if you were to take this as an example on BTC here, you can see where we have range and where we have volume range. So we could definitely come lower, by the way. Definitely come lower. I mean, you'd argue anything between 55 and 50k sees a significant push down. The other way we can look at this is we can bring the order book up and see what it's going up. However, says, I think I'm going to take profits now, knowing that we're not having an alt season. I mean, that's true. The only thing I would suggest, and again, it's your money. You have to do what's right and what you believe is right. If you consolidate with in a range, historically, you will get some pushes back up and you will get some pushes back down. For example, XRP is up today by 0.7%. It would have been up a little bit more earlier on in the day. But yeah, so look at this combined order book. So we can bring up the top 100. And this is on let's do the spot market. So these are where buy and sell orders sit right now. Obviously, these are where sell orders sit. It's where people are essentially saying, look, I'm going to dump my Bitcoin. Look at this. at the top end, you've got so little liquidity here, like when you start to get into some really pretty interesting prices. So people are not expecting price to push way higher right now. Obviously, you get some key ones here, look, 74,500 at this sort of key macros, but outside of that, it's pretty flat coming up to the top end of this. You know, it's not until you sort of get out of the, you know, into the 71 range where it starts to get pretty tasty. Likewise, buys downside, not a lot coming in as well. So this whole concept right now of liquidity is awful in the market, then it is worth knowing. Wow, BTC taking an absolute dump. Where's the guy that was giving me shit when he walked in the live stream right now? Ask him how his shorts printing. Yeah, bro. Anyway, you get my point. This is where we're all looking at Bitcoin, but I believe there are some coins out there, especially alts, that are coming to the end of their resistance. And yeah, 100%. I mean, I've said XRP, for example, is a coin that I think could do an opposite to the market. Like, they could announce some insane partnership. Think about it. If Brad Garlinghouse stands up on the stage at Community Day and says, you know, we're launching the XRP Bank of America conglomeration where we're going to be integrating blockchain into how Bank of America transact mortgage payments, like XRP will go up $2. Like, it's kind of that crazy stuff, isn't it? It's that crazy stuff that could happen. That's not going to happen for Bitcoin. It's not going to happen for Ethereum. Like, Tom Lee's just going to buy another $1 billion worth of BTC, which is great. I'm short 2-bit. Say short. Well, he just said to me, the first point was, oh, great, another 50-50 trader, which was fun. And then he said, would you long or short the market? And I said, I would be short on this market, although I'm not telling you what to do. And he said, I'll be back in 4 days to let you know how your shorts done. Like, as if I care. But anyway, it's fun. Maybe wait later this week to see if we pump tomorrow. I mean, maybe. You are hedging your bets on getting some big announcement, which is possible, by the way. I can't remember what got announced last year, but maybe there is. I feel like last year was a bit of a nothing burger, if I'm honest. So, you know, the other room would be buy the room or sell the news when it comes to XRP, specifically Community Day as well. So, you know, worth thinking about. Yeah, short was a big risk for me, but I did it. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about it over here, didn't we? So this is actually kind of playing out. I mean, now you could argue and say, well, this potentially is now the next target range that we get. You know, oops, what am I doing here? This, you know, this could play out as the next target range. Take the top of this range, go to the bottom of this range. You can see there, okay, well, how is this going to play out in terms of some of this? So 69.708 is the next Fibonacci at 0.5. Do we see this breakthrough? I don't know. We'll see. Dead Knight says, love the channel. Good luck, guys. Invest wisely and put it in what you can lose. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Hopefully, please feel free to jump into our totally free Discord channel, by the way. It is totally free. If you do want to get a little bit more access, we do actually have our premium service. Just become a channel member here. It's like $6.50. It's totally worth it, by the way. You get our trade alerts, you get signals, you get macro, you get our bots that's in there. You just get everything. By the way, cheapest out there in the market, in my opinion. So definitely get involved. But yeah, thank you, man. Best thing is to DCA, spot and wait and do nothing. Not financial advice, but you don't have to always go all in. 100% DCA your weighing, just learning how to ladder in. It makes you feel way better as well, by the way. Like if you buy, how many times have people gone, right, okay, I'm going to buy here, and you buy something and you go all in, you're like almost FOMO panic, especially if you're trying to get in before the price goes up. You FOMO panic, you buy and all of a sudden it dumps. It's like, oh, God's sake. It's always me. I mean, I got into that place, by the way. There's nothing more satisfying about triggering a trade or buying a spot at the absolute moment you want it, whether that's to the downside or to the upside. There is nothing more satisfying than hitting that trade. So, you know, at the minute, you have volatility, but you have low liquidity. Remember, we were talking about this. Liquidity is garbage right now because it's getting cleaned out, and it got really well, really well cleaned out as well. So you need to be just really mindful of where that is, which is important because then you can sort of get in and out of trades when you need to. If you're a long-term investor, you have to DCA at 50% drop. Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. You will be surprised. It's a superpower nobody uses. Nobody uses. So, for example, I'm pretty transparent with where I sit with some of my positions. A lot of you know that I bought Pepe. I bought it way too expensive. And yeah, like now, Pepe is a perfect opportunity. I have to answer myself 2 questions. A, do I believe Pepe can be a multi-cycle coin? Remember, it came out May 23, so it's only been out a few years. If I answer yes to that question, then I go, right, let's say that I bought most of my, let's say I bought most of my Pepe here. I mean, I didn't. I sort of bought some, I'm trying to think where I bought some here, but then a lot here, I think. In fact, this is probably here, actually, I bought most of it. So then you kind of say, well, okay, that's fine. if I'm then buying here, all of a sudden my DCA price starts to come down. That's the sensible way to do it. That's why it's, I think, just my personal opinion, it's not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do with your own money. The only thing I want you to do is hit the like button, by the way, both on YouTube and on TikTok, because that helps out the channel. But if you are holding spot positions, right? Thanks, Tim. If you're holding spot positions, that's your hedge against price increase. And actually, if you're looking to trade short on the market, which, again, everything you can look at right now is arguably telling us that we should come back down again, then that's your hedge against it. So you kind of win-win either way, don't you? And the worst case scenario is we don't come back down. All right, cool. Well, if we're at 70K, think about it. All-time high on this run, 126. Are we going to go higher next bull market? Yeah, of course we are. Assuming that everything plays out as it has done over the last, 10, 12 years. Oh boy, the weekly chart looks scary to me. Yeah, the weekly chart looks like we'll go way lower. Way lower. Again, you look at some of this volume profile here on the right-hand side. This is where you kind of end up in a bigger time scale that you want to, be really mindful of. Which is here, isn't it? Which is the bigger macro. But yeah, this is, potentially that's an even bigger range. But, you could come down and retest this easily and then, mess around here and then come back down. This is where I think people get this 40 to 60K range. For example, you got a little bit of volume. Look at this, though, this abyss all the way down. These are where you can get your wicks to 30K. You could get a wick down here. Look at this. That's a key support line at 30,500. So if you were super bearish, for example, you were really bearish on the market and you said, hey, this is just going to be a disaster and I think we're going to go way lower, and people don't understand that when BlackRock starts to sell billions and billions of dollars worth of BTC because they're all totally freaking out, then, you could argue and go multi-cycle over this. You start to get in some pretty nasty water, don't you? Pretty nasty water, which would align, pretty well if you do that. Look, the 0.5 Fibonacci, 64,631 aligns to the 2021 bull market top. 236 Fibonacci, 32,654. Absolutely could align to there from a big push down. Personally, and again, I've said it, I don't see 30K. I just think it's too far. But hey, do I think I would have seen 60K this month? Probably not. I mean, the Pepe chart looked way more scary. Yeah, I mean, that's true as well. I'm super bearish. I'm trying the time at the bottom way down. Yeah, I mean, look, that's what we're trying to do and get that 6-figure trade open as well. So we'll announce it in the Discord. Again, I was short on the I was short on the on the big push down here. Annoyingly, I did miss this entire short by $116. I think I told you guys that, which is like the most annoying thing in the world. But hey, definitely not worth trying to get it. Crypto Steve says, no, that wasn't the bottom. Yeah, look, see, I think a lot of people are in that place. A lot of people believe that wasn't the bottom. Yeah, if 30K happens, I'd buy, but boy, it would be sketchy. Yeah, I mean, that's true. The risk at 30K is what goes wrong. And that's why FTX collapsed. Yeah, they had some really shady practices going on. They had some really uncomfortable, debt with Alameda Research. But what unfolds? So, for example, if you start to push down at, say, 45, 50K, and you then start to get withdrawal restrictions on Mexi, Bitthumb, Bitfinex, all of these, all of a sudden you're like, fucking hell, how bad is it going to get? The one thing to probably watch would be where do and what does exchanges have in terms of their stablecoin reserves? What am I trying to find here? Sorry, I know I haven't been that well actually today. So, for example, what have they got within their come on, think about it. What am I doing here? I'm just gibbering on. Their financial reserves. So what have they got from a stablecoin perspective? Because that's what you want, don't you? So $20 billion of USDT. Bitcoin, you have to discredit. That's what you want to see in it. So for example, Binance allegedly, and this is assuming that it's all on chain, by the way, all information and data relating to the holdings is in the third-party wallet addresses are based on public third-party information. CoinMarketCap does not confirm or verify the accuracy of timelines of such information. So again, you have to be kind of mindful of it, but 26.27% of their entire portfolio is sat within a stablecoin narrative. All right, cool. What you don't want to be at is any that are like, oh, we've got 5% of our entire holdings sat in stablecoin. You'll be like, oh my God, that doesn't feel great, does it? as he clicks on Bitunix, and they've got 2.41%. Oh, what the bit, you know? So again, you'd want to be very mindful, in my opinion, because if you're 60% in Bitcoin on this, if Bitcoin drops, then that value's dropping. And if you've got people that are looking to withdraw, just got to be careful. Yeah, so do I, by the way. So do I. Simon Simpson sold around 105. I'm chilling. Yes, I mean, I sold 50% about 108. So, yeah, I've got stablecoin ready to deploy. And the only ones I'm holding on to now are either so low that it's almost not worth me selling, or that are what I would deem as multi-cycle coins. Solana, Ethereum, all those kind of things. What's going on, Vern? Good to see you, buddy. So, yeah, so these are kind of, so for example, if you got like a Bitunix that collapse, you'd be like, oh my God, like this could, and that's how things start to unwind. One of the big things that you'll hear a lot of people talking about right now is private credit, that could roll over the entire markets. Now, again, I am not an economist. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't really understand it too much, if I'm honest. Just sort of giving my view specifically, but I don't really, do it. But generally speaking, private credit is where you have companies taking on more and more and more debt, which is where some can unwind. So when you've got like this big AI bubble, that's why everyone's freaking out about AI. If AI data centers goes pop, for example, Oracle or Meta, then that's where it gets to be a problem, because you have so much unwind. Look at Nvidia, OpenAI as an example. Like that, we looked at their balance sheets the last stream on I think it was like Friday last week. But that's where people start to get freaked out by it, because if private credit goes kaboom, then yeah, AI goes boom and the whole market gets dragged down, which probably isn't the worst thing in the world. That's probably where you're grateful for the fact BTC's pushed out at 70K, because you're like, all right, well, if we're at 126,000 and private credit goes kaboom and AI bubble goes bang, then it's like, oh my God, we're knackered. But Dev Tuber, what's going on, buddy? Welcome in. Good to see you. Let me see if I can find it. It's just, I was watching someone talk about this the other day, but it is bad news. We've discussed like Oracle, and we've discussed a couple of others, haven't we, as well? But it is sort of worth noting that there could be a severe problem with private credit. Let me see if I can find a decent chart that's sort of going to tell us a little bit more about it. Which is kind of where the AI thing comes in, isn't it? Okay, the bubble in this kind of might help us. So let's see if we can sort of walk through this. The bubble in software, private equity, private credit edition. I posted this roughly a year ago. Blah 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 blah. So widely known that software, private equity, and strategic acquirers got a bit aggressive in 22-21. Software M&A hit all-time highs in both valuation and cash deployed in 2021. This is it. Unprofitable growth versus profitable on an EV revenue. So this is declining, yeah? This is declining. So why would it do? Many of the higher growth software companies have taken on private credit and they're lending protocols. So total principal. So the other one to look at, by the way, is CapEx spending as well. What's going on, Fairground? I didn't see you in there. What's going on, Tibet? So again, this is kind of where you start to walk through some of this. So a ton of data on the BDCs. A BDC, business development companies, a type of publicly traded investment fund that provides financing to small and mid-sized businesses, often including PIK debt, which is essentially their insane lending. Does it all come from fruition at some point? The revenue slowing, M&A volume declined so much that software PE funds won't be able to flip the company before the PIK. So the best way to look at that is like OpenAI, where they are taking on loads of debt, and it's all based on the fact that they will essentially get this paying back. So again, you can see kind of debt being taken on right now, and then the essential, maturity comes back in where they'll make it 28 and 29, which I guess could align to some sort of crazy move in the markets. Is Balancer is going, what? Do you mean Binance? No, I don't think so. We were talking about how potentially the markets could roll over if you saw 30 or 40K BTC. So yeah, I mean, this isn't the greatest chart in the world to sort of give us an eye on, but yeah, that's where it all kind of comes in, basically, that private credit will essentially then mean that companies are paying out more than their revenue drains, which is why you get loads of funding ratings. Again, that's why you've got OpenAI trying to raise loads of money, Oracle trying to loads of money. Don't forget, Oracle totally screwed their shareholders over recently as well. So that's where the bubble could go pop, and then that just cascades through the market. I mean, yeah. That's where it all gets to be bad news, in fairness. How much credit to give the XRP to BTC chart? It's indicating a possible 51% upside. As in this one, XRP versus Bitcoin. Well, let's take a look at it. So this is the price of XRP versus BTC, isn't it? Essentially. So we need to look at this at a broader scale versus where we are right now. And obviously, that's assuming that you get a decline in the price of BTC and an increase in the price of XRP. So there's the 2018. Obviously, this is October 10th, where we just got that absolute denomination of it back in December 24, where XRP had a rally. So, you know, you're looking for that potential move here, similar to the XRP, similar to Bitcoin and gold pricing. You want to see this kind of play out. Oh, man, I am literally dying. You want to see this try and play out a little bit further. So, I mean, yeah, you could argue that potentially we get a break to the upside, depending on how this sort of, you know, moves. But you assume that BTC is going to devalue and XRP is going to increase in value. So, yeah. By the way, and I still think XRP is a good shout, personally. I know people maybe don't, but... Right, 1 second. Let me just sort something out here. I felt like I was dying then. Right, okay, good. I can speak again. So, yeah, the XRP versus Bitcoin in the 1 week, you could argue maybe it's starting to move into a bull flag. Again, it's always difficult because these are two, you know, changing values. Yeah, you're going to need news to move XRP, which, by the way, if it is going to be big news, it's going to be something insane. I'd just watch out for it. Yeah, Tim, I drank my tea, though, and I can't go now because I'm, you know, what time, I mean, not even what time it is. Man, it's 5 to 10. Sometimes I don't know where these live streams go. It'd be way more fun if we were live streaming for about, you know, 100 hours or whatever it is. Anyway. Oh, what am I missing loads of chat here? Excuse me. Should I sell now or buy the dip? Well, I can't tell you what to do, unfortunately. That is not my narrative, but yeah. H-bar, yeah, we touched on H-bar last time. We were talking about H-bar, where that sits. I mean, it's up 2%. We did chart out potential prices. I mean, look at that. Wicks below that 0.7. So, yeah, I mean, H-bar here on the weekly. Don't know where it looks on the daily, but... again, you want to see some kind of good news story coming out of H-bar. I haven't seen a lot going on with it at the minute. I know some people are super bullish on it, and it's got, you know, an ETF application, all that kind of stuff going in, but... Yeah, if you believe the narrative is going to be good on H-bar, the ISO narrative, XRP, XLM, XDC, all those kind of things. I mean, H-bar I quite like. I mean, we've talked about H-bar a number of times here on the channel, so could all be good news. Could all be good news, I guess. This could happen if BTC dumps to 50k. Yeah, if BTC dumps and somehow you get an altcoin market that holds up, then yeah, you could see a definite rally potentially. Man, look at this volatility right now in BTC. This is kind of crazy. Look at that wick down here. Hits that resistance line. As I'm saying, these lines right now, you could trade these like maniacs. Grid trading bot, bro. Anyway, Dow Jones, S&P 500, NASDAQ will all go down if crypto will follow. Easy answer. That's true, John Fitness. Yeah, that's true. Claire, what's going on? Welcome. Welcome. In the Dow just broke 50,000. I mean, I don't know what it is today. What is the Dow at, by the way? Anyone know? It's the Dow Jones. Let's stick it on the old list. That is not the Dow Jones I want. Is it that one? Yeah, 50,107. So, I mean, the Dow's still going, which is kind of wild if you think about it. I mean, Trump said by the end of his term, he's going to double the Dow Jones, which, I mean, fair play to him. Like, fair play to him. But yeah, I mean, look, the S&P is rallying at 0.5. Stocks are rallying. Interestingly, you know, ETFs, XRP ETF, that one been tracking, albeit has been in a significant decline, actually had a decent-ish day today. Silver ripping again, back up 7%. Silver futures look like they're going to be pretty strong as well. In fact, let's take a look at, really quickly, futures markets, because they were wild yesterday. They were wild on market opens. Let me just close these down. Close that, and close that. Okay. So, what have we got here on the futures markets? Dow looks like it's implying it's going to open a little bit. S&P 500 looks like it will open slightly. Man, NASDAQ, look at this. The 12.61 gain on the future NASDAQ. That's wild, in fairness. Hong Kong looks like it could buy. I mean, Hong Kong futures look pretty good. as do commodities, whatever. And also US indexes. Man, so it could be a decent day, by the way. Been trading silver futures the last couple of days, getting good returns. Yeah, I bet you are. Futures, silver's been crazy. And futures look, again, really strong. Copper up 1.2, gold 1.2. Metals, man, anything except crypto, basically, was fine. Crypto was the bad bet this cycle, whatever. 2-bit, DCA into Ondo and Canton first, not financial advice, but yeah, Ondo, I think, definitely is a good shout. One on my list to do. Again, I am just sat waiting because I think the market's going to go down, so I'm going to stick to my belief that I think the market comes down. Canton, you know, we've been tracking this for a while. Could Canton push down a little bit further? Yes. In fairness, Canton, I think, has been holding up pretty well. Back on the 20-day EMA. Again, don't forget, if you are not a member of our Discord, by the way, Husky Tom, you will get access to our full trading guides right now. And, you know, look, you might be an advanced trader. I don't know. But we've got 2 brand new guides. They're in the Learn to Trade section. That is our charts to use and our how to trade the 20-day EMA as well. Totally free, by the way. Get that in our premium Discord. That's for simply subscribing to the channel. On YouTube, it's about $7 a month or whatever it is. So totally worth it. You get that for free. But yeah, Canton holding the 20-day EMA right now, which means, let's say, for example, tomorrow. So we don't have a lot of data coming in tomorrow. It's super boring. Retail sales month over month. No one cares about that. You've got no Fed speeches. ADP is non-existent. So not a lot going on tomorrow. So if the market decides to come in, let's say Asia buy, then you could get a little push up here on Canton. Off the 20-day EMA, bounce again, you know, could see you back above that. Equally, it wouldn't surprise me, by the way, if the market doesn't push, sorry, if the market does push down and we actually get what I think will happen, which is back end of the week. I just think we're going to get a CPI that's going to be maybe not what people expected. Well, I think it'll do one of two things. I think it's either going to come in like hot and people are going to go, oh my God, like, let's get the hell out of here. Or it's going to come in insanely good and people aren't going to believe it. I mean, if you take Trueflation right now, 0.68. I mean, what? Allegedly, by the way, on US inflation, 0.68 is wild. It's wild. I mean, think about that. Anyway, NFP on Wednesday. NFP on Wednesday. Yeah, non-farm. Yeah, in fairness. Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, that could be. And we think that's going to be bad, by the way. So you get that. You get an employment rate. So just to give you that idea, non-farm payrolls, forecast is 40. Consensus is 70. So that would mean that we are undershooting a pretty big number. And previous is 50. So you want 50 or less. Forecast is 40, which could be, you know, could be good. If we don't get it, though, let's say we get 70 and you get a 4.6% unemployment rate, that's bad news. It'll be good for rate cuts, probably aligns the Fed a little bit differently to cut rates, but not great for the economy as a whole, which then probably leads into potentially CPI, etc., into that. So, yeah, we'll see. And then we get FOMC minutes next week, which should be fun. You actually think bear market 2-bit or big pullback? So, I think you have to call it a bear market, because you have significant drawdown from all-time highs and you've got low liquidity in the market, which historically means that people have left. The other thing, I don't know if we were looking at yesterday, we looked at cash flow particularly, but I don't think I've got a chart that we can look at. But stablecoin dominance is reasonably flat today. So that tells you that, in fact, maybe we can see it here, actually. Let me see if I can just bring this up really quickly. I think I touched on this in my... one of my videos that no one watches. Please tell me I'm signed in. Oh, come on, bro. Right, one sec. So, the USDT. And I want to see... what do I want to see here? Exchange. What do I want to see here? I mean, it's not outflows of stablecoins, because I don't think people are going into stablecoins and then removing stablecoins out of exchanges. And in fact, we can see that here. They're not doing that. That is coming down post February's collapse. I'll try and find it for tomorrow night. Essentially, what you're looking at is, are people going into stablecoins and into cash, or are they just holding stablecoins? I guess you could argue that USDC and USDT dominance would tell us that there's elements that people have gone into stablecoin, but there must be somewhere to see whether that stablecoin was then converted back into cash. I don't know where it is, though. I need to try and find it. Why do you think crypto had a lackluster, but everything else exploded? I mean, Well, because it wasn't worth going into the crypto market. That's the problem you had. The best way to look at this, if we do Bitcoin here, let's do it on the monthly candles. And this probably explains, in my view, why. Think about it, right? Why do people invest in the crypto market? That's the best way to think about it. Let me take the VPVR off because it's going to get super annoying while we're doing this. Why do people invest in the crypto market? Because they feel they can put a little in and get a lot. Okay? People don't traditionally invest in like the stock market, but the best way to look at it, if we add on here the let's add in the S&P 500, right? As a chart, yeah. So it's a little bit what am I doing here? There we are. So the blue line is the S&P 500, and let's just make it a bit more of an obvious color. Let's just do it. Let's do it red. Let's do it yellow, hashed out. That's better. Okay, we can kind of see that. So this is the S&P 500. So think about it, right? Why do people invest in the S&P? Or why would a traditional investor go in the S&P? Well, the fact is that Bitcoin's always been the better bet. It's always been the potentially higher, most explosive move, and also potentially has then brought bigger returns. For example, if you take the bottom of just where we sit now of 2022 and then go to the top, even in a very quiet month, 666%, you get less on the S&P 500. And don't forget, this time you got a bigger move than before. So this is why I think people went into things like stocks, into gold, into commodities. Don't forget, there's still the theory that Trump might bomb Iran. I mean, there's some crazy polymarket trade that's been put on this evening, which is insane. But, you know, the fact is that you could go and make similar returns in the stock market, which, you know, is wild. So that's the start of a 10. Also, people went into US treasuries because everyone was dumping them. Think about it. If people dump US treasuries, rewards tend to be better. For example, the 10-year treasury was offering 4.2%. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You can see this. Obviously, US treasuries go all the way back way before BTC. I mean, look at the height there, 1982. 15% on US treasuries. Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? But look at 2021. So look at US treasuries and look where it was for 2021's bull market cycle. Absolute garbage. Garbage. So this is why people weren't going into that. You know, best case scenario, you made like 1% on a whole of the US treasury versus Bitcoin that made like 1,000%. So what I think happened, and remember, we talked a lot about these liquidation events. I think you got people coming back into the market. Everyone's like, oh, these ETFs are going to be amazing. It's going to pump the price. And it did, by the way. Don't forget, it did pump the price. You know, we did get a pretty big rally post, you know, all that kind of stuff. The problem we got, though, is that they got in so quick, so aggressively. I don't think people were quite ready for it. And then that made us almost, you know, susceptible to their decisions of what they wanted to do. So that's my personal opinion. The other thing to note, by the way, is that these gains are getting less and less and less. If you think about it, I mean, look at that. Back to the 2011, you know, bull market cycle. Oh, bro. What was it? 2013, 2009, isn't it? I mean, technically, that was a high there for at $30. I mean, what? Why were we buying Bitcoin, bro? 2011. What were we doing with our lives? What was I doing in my life? 70K BTC looks good support line. Yeah. I mean, look, BTC's holding up really well. Between this 70K range and this kind of, you know, 70,400, like, yeah. Watch out for futures tonight. I expect something similar that we got yesterday. So you can see that. Again, this here was US Open as well, that we got a little bit of dump. So do be mindful of those. But yeah, I mean, these right now are kind of perfect little scalp traders if you're interested in doing all that kind of stuff. But, you know, you'd argue here that, you know, I mean, what was that? Let's say that to that was 4,000%. What was the next one? 1,000%, 230. Let's say you do another 100% on that, or maybe like 150. Takes you to a 200K BTC. Tyler says the gaps gotta get filled. That's true. Yeah, look at XRP weekly chart. This is one of the longest weekly red candle runs. Yeah, well, just for everything, by the way. Just for everything. Like, yeah, it's not great. It's not great. BTC reporting 3, albeit so far this week we are at a green candle. XRP is now printed, what, 5? ADA, you know, 5. I'm trying to think what else there is. ETH, 3. It's all bad news. Tribute, what about the ISM and others breaking out finally? I mean, the ISM, yeah, the ISM's great. It's good news, but you're assuming that the ISM is going to be the single thing that drives the market. It's good for the economy, 100%, right? 100%. it's generally showing as market expansion. It has to align with a couple of other things, though. You want to get ISM, which essentially means you get an expanding economy with then potential Fed rate cuts and a broadening. Because don't forget, an increasing ISM will then essentially tell you the labor market's going to be increased. If labor market's increased, that means your economy goes up. Don't forget, US GDP is at 4.3%. It's like, what the hell, bro? 4.3%. Are you kidding me right now? I thought I just saw some breaking news come in. President Trump says US economy can grow 15% if Kevin Walsh does his job right as Fed chair. He's already like, Kevin, you better drop the fucking rates. I'm gonna fire your ass, Kevin. Do your job. Hold on a minute. Do your job, Kevin. Hold on. I need to not make that caps. Do your job, Kevin. He's does his job right. Do your job, Kevin. Kevin Walsh, cut the rates, Kevin. Trump going to get the bet. Yeah. Tyler, that's exactly right. He so is as well. Kevin is, he's going to be taking up the role. And then he's secretly going, you better cut those rates, Kevin. Oh, my God. I got a deposit in my cold wallet storage of what? Kesakumi Finance, 1.7 million shares. Does that sound like a scam to you? Yes. If that isn't something you've done, let me tell you something, right? You get nothing for free. Nothing at all in this crypto market unless you are part of this community, by the way, in which you get our trading guides for free if you become a channel member. All right? They are free. Totally free. You get them. Ask any channel members. But anything that gets dropped into your wallet by someone you don't know or a wallet you don't know, for the love of holy Jesus, don't touch it, because it essentially will drain your wallet. So many people get drained of wallets. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. No one gives anything for free in this market, especially not 1.7 million or whatever it is. What's going on? Or Eman? Have I missed a question? If I've missed a question, I apologize. Oh yeah, what's the difference between distribution and discovery in the crypto markets? What? I don't know what you mean. What's the difference between discovery and distribution? No idea. No idea. Can't see your charts. Oh, what do you want to see? I'm not really showing it. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was showing that. Okay, I can show you this. I can show you what we were looking at here. Sorry. Yeah, when we get exactly like Casey says, when we get the streaming room set up, then yeah, you'll be able to see it all. I basically just need to find a way of doing it, which I don't really know how to do it right now. So let me show you. This is essentially what I'm showing you guys. So this is the price of BTC over the years here, logarithmically charted. So these are all the bull markets that have got in. This kind of, essentially what we're looking at right now. So I'm just gonna leave it alone. It goes away anyway. But yeah, just don't touch it, mate. There's no point. Again, like I said, no one gives anything free. So these are the sort of things you're looking at as to how these kind of play out, how this market plays out, what it looks like. Again, you can see each individual bear market and bull market generally aligned to a lesser move. So if you argued and said, well, we do 150 at this point, which would be in line with the rest of it, takes us to about 180, 190 for a BTC all-time high. So yeah. Just my view. Man, my face is really bad. Dream data. What? Don't know what that means. Scott knows what? So basically, yeah, I just need to... the reason I can't do it is because I stream through OBS. Which isn't what TikTok does. Otherwise, I could show you it. And whenever I try and then stream through OBS into TikTok, it's like, this isn't original content. We're going to take it away from you. And you're like, okay, fine. That's why. I think he means price discovery and distribution. Oh, maybe, is that what you mean? Let me know if that's what you mean. I'm not sure. I mean, price discoveries where you are essentially printing brand new all-time highs, where price has never gone to that point before. So you've got nothing to reference it. No, bear in mind, whenever you get price differences, then, that's kind of where you get this kind of assumption of where people sell, like, oh, do we think that $100,000 Bitcoin's expensive or cheap or whatever? Scammers are the worst. This stuff comes out. Oh, mate, you want to honestly... Scammers are everywhere. You want to try having a public-facing email where, I mean, what the reasons I've got at the minute, Temu keeps sending me an email like, oh, hey, Mr. 2-Bit, we want you to promote Temu. We're going to give you, $100,000 every month for doing it. And you're like going to check the wallet, like the address, and they're like, yep, this is a scam. You're like, all right, cool. What's the other one I got? Crypto Empress. Hi. Thanks. So this is how you know you've made it, by the way. So I don't believe anyone's had an email going, hey, thanks. This has been part of the 2-Bit Crypto community. Come and join my free trade group. By the way, only thing I've got is my Discord. So, yeah. I mean, you couldn't write it. Perfect timing. Welcome in Wendio page. Oh, I wonder if that's actually Wendio's real page. Probably not. Anyway, you get my point. Right, everybody, where are we at right now? We're at an hour and 15 minutes. It is getting on for 10:15 here in the UK. So shout out to everybody for tuning in this evening. As always, we appreciate your time. It's been a bit of a quieter stream this evening, but hopefully you guys got some value out of it. If you did, by the way, definitely consider hitting the like button. Now, BTC is actually trying to wick back to the upside. This could be interesting, by the way. Sorry, before I go. Maybe, we'll see what the futures market does. We'll see what market opens does. Remember, US futures for open in an hour. Well, what do they open in? No, like 50 minutes. Maybe we get another spike up. If it does go up here, I may well be tempted to short the market and see kind of how it plays out. Might be pretty interesting. I don't know. We'll post it in the Discord. To share your Discord, so many fake scammers, 4 different requests from you. Yeah, well, if you know, by the way, that I'm sure that every single one of them, if you check, they won't have a shared mutual server with you because they won't be in our server. So we on the server now, we have verification. So I verify every single person that applies for it. And if they don't do the verification, they don't get in. It's really simple. And the reason why I know that there are loads of scammers coming in, because so many of the names are in there all the time. But if you check on them, they absolutely will not have a mutual server with you, which means they're not in our server because we actually have direct messages turned off. So if you're in the server and you are not an admin or a moderator or me, you shouldn't be able to DM other people in the server. We turned it off to stop all that kind of stuff. That's what I mean. It's one of the best Discords out there. Loads of stuff, especially for your premium member. It's totally worth it as well. Thanks a million, sir, for your untutoring effort. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. Watch out for this BTC trade. I definitely will post it in the Discord if we do something. I mean, I am tempted. Let's see what market opens looks like in the futures. Historically, sorry, I'll just show you again. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we either break out, if we get back up to here, by the way, you got to break above 71,000, but, BTC could rally into futures, retest 71.4, short this all the way back down here. That'll be a nice little gainer. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I'll post it in the Discord. All right, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. Is Shiba dead coin? I don't think it's dead, but it's not, memes are not where you want to be putting your money right now. Just my opinion. So, yeah. As always, thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow night, 4 p.m. Eastern. By the way, just giving you a heads up, I don't think I'll be live on Wednesday. I have a 9-to-5 job stuff to do. So I think I'm away Wednesday night. FYI, that's why we need more people to come and watch this stream so that I can do it. But I will keep you guys posted, so watch out for that. But we may just reposition our Wednesday night TikTok live to a different stream. But anyway, more of that. I'll confirm everything tomorrow night. Thanks everybody for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Look out for the content coming pretty soon, keeping you updated and dialed into this market. And as always, thank you so much. See you in the Discord, hopefully. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.